A killer whale is drowning a seal. The seal has been in the water for less than a minute. Its ribs are broken. Its rear flippers no longer respond. The orca, one of the most intelligent predators in the ocean, has done what its species has done for 6 million years. It has hunted, it has struck, and now it is waiting for the seal to stop moving. This is not cruelty, this is biology, and nothing in the vast, cold logic of the sea should interrupt what happens next. But something does. Out of the deep blue below, a shape rises. It is not another orca. It is not a rival predator. It is a 50-foot humpback whale, moving with impossible precision toward the surface where the seal is dying. She positions herself beneath the wounded animal. She lifts, and with a single deliberate motion of her chest, she raises the seal out of the water, balancing its broken body on the ridge between her flippers, holding it above the reach of the orca. She stays there. She does not eat. She does not defend a calf. She simply holds, until the killer whale, confused, gives up and swims away. The seal is not her species. The seal is not her prey. The seal is not her problem. And yet she saved it. This has been documented over 115 times. It has been observed across every ocean humpbacks inhabit. It has been recorded on video. It has been cataloged in peer-reviewed journals. It happens with sea lions. It happens with harbor seals. It happens with ocean sunfish. It happens occasionally with humans. And no one, not a single marine biologist on Earth, can fully explain why. There is a theory. It is the safest, most parsimonious explanation, and it may be correct. Humpback whales, it goes, evolved to defend their own calves from orca predation. That defense response is powerful. It is ancient, and it may be miscalibrated. When a humpback hears the specific vocalizations orcas make during a hunt, something in her nervous system triggers. She swims toward the sound. She interposes her enormous body. She lifts. And whatever she finds beneath the orcas becomes, by accident, the recipient of a maternal instinct that was never meant for it. In this reading, the humpback is not a hero. She is a machine, doing what 6 million years of evolution wired her to do, with no understanding of the consequences. But the theory has cracks, because the humpbacks do not stop when they realize the victim is not a whale. They continue. They stay for hours, sometimes. They actively reposition themselves as the currents shift the seal. In one case off the coast of Antarctica, a pair of humpbacks kept a Weddell seal alive for nearly an hour, gently sliding it back onto the ridge of a flipper every time it started to wash off. This is not the behavior of a malfunctioning alarm system. It is the behavior of something that has at minimum registered the presence of another living being and decided that its life is worth the effort. And there is another detail that unsettles the mechanistic explanation. Humpbacks sometimes travel enormous distances to reach a hunt. There are documented cases of humpbacks swimming several kilometers, at speeds that require significant energetic expenditure, toward orca vocalizations they could not possibly have mistaken for their own species. They arrive at hunts that have nothing to do with them. They engage. They intervene. And then, when it is over, they leave, having gained no food, no mate, no territory, no observable benefit at all. If this were a system, the system would have collapsed long ago. Evolution does not reward behaviors that cost calories and offer nothing in return. And yet, the behavior persists. It appears in populations that have been genetically isolated for hundreds of thousands of years. It appears in humpbacks that have never seen another humpback engage in such an act. Somewhere in the architecture of this animal's mind, whatever we mean by that word, there is a stable disposition to intervene. We do not have a scientific vocabulary for this. Biologists, appropriately cautious, tend to call it interspecific altruism. But that term is a description, not an explanation. It names the behavior without accounting for its origin. And the origin, if it exists as anything more than a happy misfire, would require us to accept something that the field of animal cognition has resisted for a century. It would require us to acknowledge that a nervous system evolved in the open ocean, entirely without exposure to human moral philosophy, has arrived at something that looks like the beginning of ethics. Consider what a humpback whale is, biologically. Her brain contains spindle neurons, sometimes called von Economo neurons. once believed to be exclusive to great apes and cetaceans of the largest kind. These are cells associated in humans with rapid social decision-making, empathy, and the sense of another mind. Humpbacks have them in dense clusters. Their brains also contain a paralimbic structure, adjacent to the emotional processing regions, that is proportionally larger than the equivalent structure in a human brain. What this structure does is not fully understood, but it is anatomically consistent with an elaborated capacity for social emotion, for something like what we might call, in ourselves, the machinery of moral response. None of this proves that a humpback whale feels sympathy. Feelings are private, and the whale cannot tell us. But it does suggest something worth sitting with. Whatever is happening inside that enormous head as she rises beneath a dying seal, it is not nothing. It is not the emptiness of a reflex. It is the output of a nervous system that has, over millions of years, developed the biological substrate for exactly the kind of experience that would motivate what she is doing. Humans encounter this behavior with a mixture of wonder and vertigo. In 2017, a marine biologist named Nan Hauser was documenting humpback whales in the Cook Islands when a 50,000-pound humpback approached her in the water and began to nudge her, gently, insistently, back toward her boat. She was frightened. She thought she was being attacked. It was only when she looked past the whale that she saw what the whale had already seen. A tiger shark, one of the largest documented in the region, was circling her from below. The humpback had positioned itself between her and the shark. It shielded her with its body for 10 minutes. It escorted her personally to safety, and then it left. Hauser has spent decades studying humpbacks. She still cannot explain what happened. She only knows what she saw, and she only knows what her nervous system in the moment felt certain of. She was being protected by an animal that had no reason to protect her, and every reason not to. This is where the story stops being about whales. Because if this behavior is real, and the evidence increasingly suggests that it is, then it means that somewhere in the deep evolutionary past of a very old lineage, a form of moral response emerged without any of the cultural machinery humans use to justify our own ethics. There is no whale religion. There is no whale philosophy. There is no whale contract theory. There is only, apparently, the recurring biological impulse to lift another dying creature above the reach of what would kill it. And that impulse is old. Older than us. Older than language. Older than the idea that morality had to be reasoned into existence. If a humpback whale can develop this, in the total absence of everything we thought was required to produce it, then everything we thought about the origins of ethics may need to be reconsidered. We have long told ourselves that morality is a human achievement, a triumph of reason over instinct, a fragile cultural technology developed to override our biological selfishness. But the humpback whale suggests something different. It suggests that the capacity to care about a life that is not yours, and not your kin, and not even your species, is not the endpoint of a long civilizational effort. It may be something older than civilization, and older than reason, and possibly older than mammals themselves. We may not be the inventors of goodness. We may be the inheritors of it, arriving late to a party that has been in progress for a very long time, held at the bottom of the sea, in a language none of us can speak. And perhaps this is why the encounters feel the way they do. When a human being locks eyes with a humpback whale that has just saved their life, and the whale slowly turns and swims back into the deep, there is a specific quality to that silence that no marine biologist has been able to name. It is the silence of understanding something that has just changed shape in your mind. It is the silence of realizing that you are not, and have never been, the only species on this planet with the capacity for what we so grandly call compassion. You are only one of the ones who talks about it. The humpback whale does not talk. She lifts, and she has been lifting, quietly and without recognition, for longer than we have had names for what she does. Long before any human wrote the word mercy, a 50-ton animal in the cold water of a distant ocean was already doing it, on a body that was not hers, for reasons she could not explain, for no reward at all. Perhaps that is the only kind of goodness that has ever really existed. Perhaps we simply mistook our word for it as its origin.